Cool.
All right. Hello to the Florida Wrestling Room this afternoon. Let's welcome first ever four-time girls state champ in Florida, also a judo champ too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty badass, and a Fargo national champ,
hmm
and a two-time world team member, and wrestled in college. Fortunately, had an injury and then transferred over to South Florida, right?
Yeah, yeah. I wrestled 2 years in college at King University, and kind of like the final injury that got me was a full ACL meniscus tear my sophomore year. But I had multiple concussions, bad ankle injuries, shoulder injuries. I mean, what wrestler doesn't have injuries? But I was
Yeah,
kind of to that point where I'm like, you know what? I I want to walk by the time I'm 30. I want to take care of my kids. So as much as I love the sport, I was like, you know what? I think this my body's telling me to kind of call it.
give
So
it a break.
yeah, yeah.
So you have never fought in either wrestling or judo since then?
I I've been on the mat probably a handful of times. I've actually haven't had surgery, so I kind of rehabbed it myself. I'm a NASM certified personal trainer. And I have my BS in exercise science. So with my knowledge with that, I kind of made my own rehab program and basically got my knee back to as close to 100% as I could. And I mean, I have this big, huge brace I put on if I want to get onto the mat. But
Well, there's a wrestler.
yeah,
I didn't have surgery. I fixed it myself.
I mean, I
Okay,
was
sure.
I thought about it when I first did it. I was like, you know what? I still love the sport. I feel like I still need more. I need to give more. But the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, going under. And I've heard so many stories about wrestlers and about really any athlete that they completely blow their knee out, get surgery, and they do the same thing all over again to the same knee. And I'm like, I don't want to have to go through this a second time. So I didn't go through it the first time.
No, I don't blame you. And I don't. I don't think anybody wants to go through that, right?
No, no, I mean, I don't wish it upon anybody. And I mean, I think the biggest thing that I realized, because I mean, I was wrestling 30 at the time, 130, and I was probably walking around, I don't know, mid 150s, low 160s. So, I mean, all wrestlers know like cutting weight, and our strength and conditioning coach was trying to get us as strong as we could. But at least for me, I put on muscle mass. I mean, even being tall, I put on muscle mass pretty well. So I was like, okay, I can only get to a point of being so strong and then having to worry about getting down to the weight that I'm supposed to be at. So I think what's so big is wrestlers needing to know, like, okay, strength conditioning is so important, not only just for the sheer fact of being strong and having your body be at the top it can be, but just for the preventingness of injuries.
Yeah, for sure. And while you were doing that, I tagged Lindsay Dahl and I said how many girls were at states this year. So let's see if she's
Yeah.
on social media today. We'll get an answer for you. So so how old were you when you started? I know you mentioned that your dad was a coach
Yeah. My
here
dad was a
in
coach.
Florida.
Yeah, so I started with judo first, and my dad, he went to Olympic trials for judo, and we joke that tearing the ACL is genetic because he tore both of his. So with that, he couldn't really make the Olympic team, but he's awesome. He had a judo scholarship. He wrestled when he was in high school at Lakeland High School, and we joked that I was the boy he never had. But I mean, I grew up him coaching me and everything, and then I got into wrestling. I forget exactly how old I was, but he coached me judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, And I went to Bartow High School my freshman and sophomore year, where he coached me there. And then, I mean, 16-year-old girl, you kind of expect them to not really get along with their dad that well, and didn't really want much to do with them, as much as I love him now and as great as a guy he is. But I was like, you know what? Peace out. I'm going to George Jenkins with Bump, Justin Bailey. He's a great, great coach. And I think him, along with just that atmosphere, I mean, I was the only girl in the room, but training with the guys, him, Coach Moss, who unfortunately passed away. But I think they're one of the main reasons why I went so far as I did.
So you said there was 70 girls your freshman year in states?
Yeah. So,
She just posted that there was 319 this year.
gosh,
How awesome, how insane is that?
that's crazy. That's crazy. Like, so I was telling you before we got on here, I wrestled 112, 119 my freshman year. And I mean, I'm 5'10". So I was probably, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9", then being that tall, you can only cut down so much. But at that weight, I still felt relatively competitive with the boys. I actually went to regionals, boy regionals, freshman year, and it was probably a week and a half, 2 weeks before girls state that I actually heard about that there were other girl wrestlers, let alone a full quote unquote state tournament. So my dad and I think it was at Cypress Creek High School in the Orlando area. He drove up there one day, one and done, like I said, 70 girls maybe. And I think Cypress Creek was the only team that had like a full on girls team. Everybody else had maybe, I think the most was 7 girls. And
Wow.
all of Polk County, I think we had three or four.
Man, so you can see, I'm sure you've seen what's going on today as far as getting girl wrestling sanctioned here in Florida.
Yeah.
And getting them the same platform that the boys have.
Yeah.
And obviously from being a Florida girl, Florida bred wrestler, what has it meant for you being a wrestler, and what has that done for your life and your career and the opportunity to go to college? And then why is it so important to give these girls the same platform?
Yeah. I mean, so wrestling, it was the reason I went to college. I mean, I'm so thankful for my parents. Like, they had Florida prepaid for my sister and I. So I at least was going to go to college, but it was gonna, if I didn't have wrestling, it was gonna be in Florida at just some local college. Not saying that's bad or anything, but obviously when I was a senior, that was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to get as far away from Lakeland, as far away from my parents as I could, and wrestling gave me that. And I mean, I've listened to a couple of your other podcasts where some girls are like, if it wasn't for wrestling, I wasn't going to go to college. And so many girls that I know through wrestling from college, they're the same way. Like, if they didn't have wrestling, let alone not even going to college, who knows where they would have been today. And so I don't see why it has taken so long. I mean, especially with having 300 plus girls at last year's state tournament. I mean, I remember I was, I think, sophomore year, and my dad and I, along with a couple other of the girls who are competing nationally in Florida, tried to get it sanctioned. And I should have asked him more specific details, because he was obviously the one, because he was the adult dealing with FHSAA. But it was like they were telling us you had to, I think, have 5 or 10 full-on teams, like full teams, wrestling, not with just the boys, but having a full practice, having, I think it was, I don't know, 10 or 15 dual tournaments, having X amount of girls at a state tournament, like full brackets. And I mean, what I've researched so far, like, that's what we have, if not more. So
Absolutely.
I really don't understand why the sanctioning hasn't happened yet.
And we're seeing, I mean, people are posting. What did we see this last month? We saw Arizona. I think we saw Alabama.
Yeah,
I'm sure Lindsay could
name
talk
all the
more on that, but
states.
yeah, but there's a whole bunch of states that have sanctioned it. There's colleges now that are
I mean,
offering it
women's
more.
women's wrestling, I think at the D3 and D2 level has been NCAA sanctioned. And like even from the
When
time
you were at when you were at King College, how many girls teams were there?
when I was at King, gosh, there were probably 15, maybe 20.
Wow.
And like even from my freshman year to my sophomore year, it probably jumped 10. And I remember when I was in high school and I was going on recruiting trips and so on, like there was probably 5 or 10. And now there's 50, 80
Which is
even,
amazing.
which is it's
She said Oklahoma and South Dakota recently went to it also.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so
I
I
mean,
don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they're not doing it. It doesn't make sense to me.
right.
I'm seeing girls kind of pepper into some of the district and regional tournaments now. Like, I mean, Lindsay had a girl that she was like fourth or fifth at boys. As a matter of fact, it was George Jenkins your
Yeah,
tournament. I
yeah.
think she was fourth or fifth in the boys on the boys side, and I asked the coach, and he's like, "Well, I'm just preparing her for her states." And I'm like, "Well, must be pretty big now that you got to put her up against the boys." And I think she came in second in state. She lost to I think the girl's name, they call her Bug, Hannah Hall. I think she's the one that got her, which
Yeah,
which she gets most girls she wrestles. So
right.
yeah, so she's pretty good. So, but Lindsay's doing a great job over there, and I
Yeah.
think you see the growth. Now, have you considered going into some of these clubs or trying to get back into these girls or boys, or can kind of teach them and wrestle with them?
Yeah, I mean, with my knee, like I said, I haven't had surgery, so actually going and rolling around, I I could, but I don't know how confident I am with that. But I mean, coaching and especially with strength and conditioning, I mean, like I said, I'm NASM certified. I'm a fitness trainer at RDB Sportsplex in Orlando. So, which is crazy because a lot of the big girls wrestling programs are in the Orlando area, which is awesome. Um, but I mean, I would love to help out in any way I could, with it be drills or just coming in a couple of days a week coaching or something, writing some strength programs for them. I mean, I would
Cool.
just love to give
So
back to
you're
the
living
sport.
in Central Florida now?
Yeah, I'm in Maitland, which is basically
Yeah, like a minute
northeast
from. Yeah, I used to work at the
Orlando.
Fields dealerships up there, so
Oh yeah, yeah,
I know right where you are. You hear that, Lindsay? She's ready to roll.
yeah. I don't
uh,
know if I'm meant in conditioned shape for wrestling right now.
yeah, that's awesome. So, what would you? A lot of girls I see, and a lot of boys I see start with judo. I think you see more jujitsu nowadays, and then
Yeah.
they transition. Um, so you get there, you win your fort, you go off to King, and then talk about. You were telling me a really cool story about you really made the world team by mistake, right?
Yeah, so I went to Body Bar, which the year I went was in, I think it was at the Silver Spurs Arena. And I was still dabbling with judo. So at that time, I was kind of still wrestling in judo as much as I could. And I think after Body Bar happened, I was like, okay, wrestling's my path. That will let me go to college. That will let me travel the world, everything like that. So my dad and I were like, you know what? Let's go. It's literally hop, skip, and jump away from Lakeland. Um, see how you do. Just get your touches with a higher level competition, because at that time, I don't want to like brag on myself, but I won state all in my first period every single year. So not saying that the girls at that time weren't bad or they weren't good, but definitely wrestling at a higher level would prepare me for this judo competition that I was going to go to. And I just so happened to end up in the finals, and I was wrestling Rosemary Flores, who was awesome wrestler at that time. We went back and forth. I think it was 2 out of 3 finals, and it went to last match. And I won. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I really honestly didn't expect this. And we were all celebrating everything. We took pictures at the podium, got our plaques, and a guy from USA Wrestling was like, all right, well, it's time to go and talk about the world team. I was like, what? I didn't, okay, sure. I just kind of walked into the room, and they're like, congratulations, you made the world team. You're going to go to Hungary this year. I said, okay.
Wow. What was that like for 18, or how old were you at the time?
I was, oh goodness, I think I was, but it was a year between my sophomore and junior year. So funny story about that whole trip. I transferred between Bartow and George Jenkins for my junior year. I missed the first week because I was still over in Hungary wrestling. And then I was supposed to land on Sunday, completely jet lagged, go to school on Monday. Well, I landed on Monday because I got stuck in Germany.
Purposely?
Not purposely. So so a lot of the girls, especially like I said, at that time, Florida wasn't that big of wrestling. It was more so New York, New Jersey, California, Michigan, Texas, like the big wrestling girl states. So, and I was really the only one that was flying down south. Everyone else was flying into like JFK or LAX or something like that. So it was me and one other coach, and then all the other team went with another coach. So we flew from Budapest to Frankfurt, and then we were going to fly Frankfurt to wherever else. So by the time we actually got onto the plane and up in the air at Budapest, because the weather was so bad, to me, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, I'm from Florida. Like, you expect these huge storms and everything. I'm like, why aren't we flying? It's not that bad. I realized this is so scary. But so by the time we landed in Frankfurt, my flight from Frankfurt to MCO had already left.
Oh.
So I'm 16 years old, and I'm
walking around Frankfurt.
Yeah, I'm in the airport. So yeah, long story short, I get stuck in Frankfurt and then miss another day of school, and yeah, it was fun.
And you get back, hey, where were you? I was wrestling for the USA. No big deal.
Yeah, right? Basically. But it was
awesome.
It was super cool. I mean, I still stay in touch with a lot of the world team from like up to this day. Majority of them wrestled in college. I wrestled with a couple of them on my team at King. And it was it's a different feeling than wrestling just like for your state at a national championship. I mean, you're representing your country, and I mean, not to mention just like you're going to experience all these cool things, but just the bonds that you get with your other teammates. I mean, we had a 1.5 months, 2 months camp basically beforehand, so we could all get to know each other. Coaches got to know our styles, and basically we got to know their coaching styles, how everything was going to work. And it was a cool way to spend your summer.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how about being a young girl but having all that confidence because you're a wrestler or you're a fighter? I mean, it's got to put, unfortunately, being a woman is hard enough when you're in, there's just assholes out there that still react the way they do. So right. That's unfortunate. But to be somebody who went through wrestling and had that in their life, I think the confidence is a little bit different because, if someone tried to put their hands on you or something, you're able to defend yourself. And I think that keeps your mind, you're able to walk around with your head held high and really, really hold yourself to a different level. And I think I was researching and I think I saw where you got the USA stamp too.
Yeah.
That
So
seems like that comes with all the world athletes.
so I wanted the USA Wrestling logo tattoo for ever, right? And I went to Fargo my sophomore year, and I think I went like 1 and 2, right? I mean, for me, wrestling, like I wrestled, like I said, Florida. I went to folk style nationals. I think I placed the first time I placed like 3rd or 4th or something like that. And I went to Fargo, and I was like not expecting it. Like, you walk in, I mean, there's millions of mats here in the Fargo Dome. There's thousands of wrestlers. I was like, okay, yeah, this is different. So I came home, and I mean, you see so many tattoos there and everything, especially USA Wrestling logo. I was like, I want that. So I asked my parents, like, so can I get it? You can sign for me. It's fine. Like, if you win nationals, then you can get it. So lo and behold, next year I go and I win nationals, and not only get outstanding wrestler too. And I was like, so can I get it? They're like, no, because I was still 17 at the time. And I was like, I won. I pinned the girl in the first period. I got outstanding wrestler. Like, what else do you want from me?
Yeah.
They're like, no. I was like, fine, whatever. So the day after I turned 18, I went and I got it.
And they couldn't do anything about it, right?
Couldn't do anything about it.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm sure it's great for you to see where the sport has come, especially on the women's side,
Yeah.
to see what Florida girls are doing. I mean, Florida boys has grown to where I think their top can compete now.
Yeah.
The depth is still probably shy from what the people in the industry are telling me, or in the sport are telling me. But from what I understand, Florida girls are competing and winning at all these big national tournaments. So
yeah, it's
it is
crazy.
amazing.
I went and I mean, I still kind of keep track of, I'm like on Flow Wrestling, Track Wrestling, USA Wrestling, everything like that. And I mean, you see Florida named at folk style nationals, Fargo, everything like that. I looked last year at Fargo's girls team, and I'm like, you brought an actual team. Like, you can compete at the duels with that. My first year I went to Fargo, I think we had, I don't know, 7 girls. My second year we had 3.
Wow. And now they're bringing in entire teams.
It's crazy. And when I was in high school, it was still fighting for the respect of the boys and the boys coaches that I was actually wrestling. And I mean, now it's like you're a wrestler. Like, you, yep. In the wrestling community, especially in Florida, people don't raise an eyebrow when you hear like girl wrestler.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You walk into a room and I think there's some maybe faculty that get a little nervous. I think still mixing girls and boys together in a sport, just because at a high school level,
yeah,
that's the.
And you're in a singlet and you're touching each other and you're this and you're that,
yeah,
and not saying that.
But then at the coaching level, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had some experiences where guys wouldn't want to wrestle me, or when they wrestled me, like, inappropriate behavior happened, but that was 1 out of 10.
Right.
And I mean, I made a name for myself in high school, and especially in Polk County. Like, when I came to a tournament, because I still wrestled varsity basically up until my halfway through my junior year, you came to a tournament, it's just people respected you, and it shouldn't be any different. Like, when you step on a mat, I think right now for me, looking back on it, it's like I probably shouldn't have wrestled the guys. I mean, there's difference between girls and guys with wrestling, flexibility, strength. We can go into a whole conversation with that. the only reason why I did wrestle the guys is because that was where I got my competition. Like you were talking about the girl from
Right.
who.
And why is that fair? Now there's enough rooms that have full girl teams where they don't have to be put in that position. They
Right. And it's
have
not
enough
like
competition.
right. And it's not like the girls are bad girls. Like you have Dr. Phillips, you have Freedom, you have all these teams that, I saw Dr. Phillips place, I think they were like top 8 team in the nation. And it's not like it's just, okay, Florida, whatever. It's these girls are placing at national tournaments. So it's, you don't need to go and wrestle the guys. Like, yeah, maybe if you want to go and train with them and practice with them just to kind of get mentally stronger, but it's, you don't need to wrestle with them. And it's, I think I can understand where some girls like, I actually want to, if you're good enough, go and to states and actually have my name of a win get plastered in the gym. And that's just going back to, if we get sanctioned, it's just going to be treated like every other sport. And if you win state, or if your school, if your team wins state, you'll get a banner in the gym.
Well, there was a girl in North Carolina this year that won the boys state championship.
Yeah.
That's insane. How often has that happened?
It hasn't. I remember a couple of times when I was in high school, you would see a girl at the state, but they're wrestling 103, 109, or whatever the weights are these days. But I honestly think you get into 123, 125, especially 130, you're not competing. If as strong as we can be female wise, our estrogen versus their testosterone, it's no match.
At the higher weights.
Yeah. And
so you have a family now?
So I have a dog. He's
Nice.
Our third child. And I actually just got married last month.
Wow.
So,
is he a fighter as well, or? No.
It's very ironic. He actually cheered in college.
Oh.
He was a cheerleader. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, that's not so there's no arguing who the boss is in the house?
He's strong. That is for sure.
Yeah, but
those judo
throws don't feel good.
I always joke with him, and I'm like, come on, just wrestle with me. He's like, no. I'm like, why? Are you scared? He's like,
yes.
I'm like, I know you're stronger than me. Like you squat a lot, you bench a lot, like you deadlift a lot. I obviously I can't outlift you, but technique wise, yeah, I guess if you want to say, if we do get into an argument, which I hope we don't, but if we do, I can maybe use your momentum against you.
Yeah, yes, it's going to be a tough day in the household. Well, yeah. Man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me, and if you can get into more rooms and on more live TVs and talk women's and girls wrestling, I think Florida could definitely use somebody like you to kind of help out Lindsay and everybody with what they're doing. Because who better than somebody who's lived it and seen where it's come from.
Oh yeah.
And, to go from talking to people where they said they had 6 girls in a tournament to now last year they had 60, and then this year at states they had 320 or 19.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. I don't know how many were at boys states, but 319 kids is a lot of kids.
That's insane. At that point, depending on, I'm sure, lower weights, middle weights, you had a lot more than some heavier weights. But at that point, it's like you need to be doing a 2-day tournament, and that's when it's like a legitimate state tournament and a legitimate sport. And it's just it's only a matter of time. I mean, and why not now? I mean, people had this conversation with girls weightlifting, and then it got sanctioned. And I mean, co-ed cheerleading got sanctioned, guys cheerleading got sanctioned. Like I'm sure that when the first guy got into cheerleading, eyebrows were raised. When the first girl got into wrestling, eyebrows were raised. But why is it taking so long for this sport to get sanctioned?
When there are definitely girls out there that are better than boys at their weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
there's
pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. There's colleges. So many girls from Florida are going to college, getting scholarships to wrestle in college. So just make it legitimate.
For real. Well, let me ask you some questions. You ready?
All right.
So, headgear or no headgear?
Personally, for me, I'd say no headgear. I'm sure some girls will go one way or the other, like they don't want cauliflower ear, but there were too many times my hair got caught in the headgear, and that's hurt so bad.
I
so
could
no
imagine.
Headgear.
So how about singlet or two-piece?
I grew up wrestling in a singlet. I mean, two pieces now are coming back and they're cool, but I like singlets.
And now Coke or Pepsi?
I like neither, but if I had to choose the brand, I would say Pepsi because it has Mountain Dew.
Well, that's what happens. People say neither Mountain Dew.
Yes.
That's pretty funny. Let's see. What do we have? Folk style or freestyle?
Oh, freestyle. No question. Like, I can go on I can come on a whole nother show why FHSAA should just completely get rid of folk style altogether, and even NCAA should get rid of folk style altogether and have it be freestyle.
And boys and girls?
Boys and girls. I mean,
really?
for boys especially, right? I mean, well, in college, girls wrestling is freestyle, which is I'm so glad about because
you wanted to say hi.
Hi. Yeah, I'm so glad college wrestling for females is freestyle because that's what we compete at internationally, right? And NCAA for the boys, you should be wrestling freestyle, you should be wrestling Greco, because so many of these men are wanting to go and compete at the Worlds, compete at the Olympics. And yeah, I'm sure that you're going in off season and you're training, and if you are a Jordan Burroughs or whoever else, you're just gonna go to the OTC. But all these kids are growing up wrestling folk style. So where is that point to, okay, you now need to go and just train Greco, just train freestyle? I mean, that's why I think, not saying that us as a nation is bad in the sport of wrestling, but I think that's why we're not as good as we can be.
Interesting. Well, that went off on a
yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. It's great. All right, back to this. Ice cream cake or birthday cake?
Ice cream. I love ice cream. Food in general. Once I got done wrestling, I'm like, give me all the food. I'm never cutting weight again.
Awesome. Salt water or fresh water?
Oh, I would say swimming, fresh water. I love the beach. Fishing, though, I would say salt water.
Nice. So I guess I won't ask you ocean or swimming pool.
I would love the beach, ocean, but swimming pool.
Popeyes or Chick-fil-A?
Oh, Christian chicken all the way. Christian chicken all the way.
I love it. Nice. Rap or country?
Country. I'm from Polk County. I am from Polk County.
Yeah. There's no rap there, huh?
No.
So I guess I know the answer then when I say car or pickup truck.
Truck.
on 40-inch wheels. They even put big wheels on their cars.
Oh my gosh. You go to Polk County, you'll see some sights.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Florida girls wrestling out there, get in touch with her, get her on, let her speak her mind. I mean, she started in Florida girls when there wasn't much going on, so she can really be a voice behind you. So, hey, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad that I happened to see your post.
Yeah.
And I reached out. So it was really good talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks so
I'm sure
much.
we can talk about, the big subject now is girls wrestling for women. So I kind of stuck on that, but we could always talk again. I'd love to hear about some judo matches and all sorts of some cool stuff you were in.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to come back on anytime.
Awesome. Well, you take care and enjoy quarantining, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay safe.
Yes, ma'am. You too.
All right.